Bearing fruit is everybody's desire, as we want to experience growth in every aspect of our lives and in whatever we do. However, not many are ready to pay the price that will bring them to that position of fruitfulness, one of which is brokenness. Some might find it hard to connect how their brokenness will yield results, but the truth is that there cannot be a greater correlation, as your submission to God will only lead to your greatness. It might look hard at first, but the result you get in the end would be worth everything. To experience greatness and get the most from God, you need to go all in. Forget about what you think is your strength and ability, and subject everything to God, because even that which you have is given by God. Paul rightly said that we are nothing to think anything of ourselves, but our sufficiency is of God. That is the place of brokenness in a man's life which will eventually give great things. You need to come to a point where you realize that you cannot do anything on your own and let God take charge. We're used to being in charge of things as humans, and as we grow, it might become difficult to let go. But that's exactly what God wants you to do. He wants you to be submitted to Him, to become like a child and trust completely in Him. Before long, you'll see as He prospers you and makes things beautiful for you. A fruitful person is productive in any sense. You're considered fruitful when all that you do prospers, when everything you are set to do succeeds, and there is no barrenness or infertility with you. When, as a businessman, your business is booming and flourishing, you're considered to be fruitful. When, as a student, you're doing well academically, then it is said that you are fruitful. Fruitfulness can also mean that there are benefits to the works of your hands. Otherwise, it's not fruitfulness. When you conceive and give birth, it's said that you are fruitful, and in other words, you are not barren. Fruitfulness goes beyond humans, but also to non-living things, like land. When you sow on land and you reap a bountiful harvest, it is said that the land is fruitful. Fruitfulness encompasses success in all ramifications. In other words, fruitful people are termed successful people. Brokenness talks about your yieldingness and submission to God and the things of God. A broken man is a man of sound character whose delight is to do the will of God without being forced or threatened, but rather out of love and reverence to God. A broken man has died to the will of the flesh and pleasures that with it. Brokenness does not have to do with a particular age or a particular age bracket. As far as a man is ready to yield himself to God and walk with Him, God Himself blessed such a man, and he becomes fruitful. You can be as young as Joseph or as old as Abraham. God will never chase you away, but it will be to your advantage that you know and walk with God early enough in your life, when you still have the energy and strength to do great exploits. A man is already considered blessed when he chooses to walk with God. Such a man is marked out for fruitfulness. The Bible in Psalm 1 verse 3 says that such a man shall be like a tree planted by the rivers of water, that bringeth forth his fruit in season. His leaf shall not wither, and whatsoever he does shall prosper. This is a blessed assurance for anyone who is broken and one who walks with God. The fruitfulness of such a man will know no bounds, because there are no bounds to anyone that God Himself blesses. A broken man is a man that has the fear of God, and he desires to please God alone and continually. When a man fears the Lord, it is the beginning of wisdom. Such a man will be fruitful because he is wise. The wisdom of God will guide his life. Through wisdom, ideas are birthed that will produce fruits that will be evident in his life, and all those that come around him will benefit and enjoy the fruit of his life. God gave Solomon wisdom as a king, and throughout the history of Israel, there was never a king like him before his reign and after his reign. The wisdom of Solomon spread through all the nations of the world, such that kings and queens travel far and near to listen to him. The wisdom was also obvious in the fruitfulness of his life and the whole nation of Israel, because gold became as cheap as anything that anyone can afford. Such is the case of any man that is broken. God will grant him wisdom that will make him fruitful in whatever he does, no matter who you are and what you do. A student, a businessman, a CEO, an entrepreneur, a politician, a doctor, a lawyer, and other professions. When the wisdom of God showers on you, you become fruitful, thereby making you a phenomenon. A broken man is an obedient man. You cannot claim to be broken and still be disobedient and rebellious. Such is not the character of a broken person. When you are a broken man, you are obedient to the instructions of God and whoever God has placed over your life. There's no way you can be fruitful when you find it difficult to do what God asks you to do. Fruitfulness starts from obeying the instruction or instructions that God gives you. It is evident in the Bible how individuals and nations have become fruitful by obeying the instructions given to them by God. The instructions that God gives you are not really to his advantage, but largely to your betterment. Abraham answered the call of God and obeyed the instructions of God. He was so fruitful that he became a threat to the nations around him. God had to swear by himself to Abraham to bless and multiply him. Abraham's exceedingly great reward, and today billions of people are referred to as the seed of Abraham. King Saul disobeyed the instructions of God that were given to him through prophet Samuel. He was not broken because he cared about the opinions of others more than God. He did what was not asked of him, and because of that, the kingdom was taken away from him. His family was almost wiped out from the surface of the earth, except for one, and fruitfulness was far away from him. There is no fruitfulness in disobedience, and there is no disobedience in brokenness. Therefore, you need to be broken so that you can be fruitful and be a blessing to all those around you. A broken man is not a proud man, but rather a humble man. To be humble is to be meek, and Jesus, teaching his disciples and other followers, said, quote, "Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth." End quote. To inherit the earth is to be fruitful. When you inherit the earth, everything that is in the earth belongs to you, and therefore yields its fruits to you. When a man is not humble, then he's considered to be proud. A proud man is not teachable. He does not take to corrections and learning new things because he believes that he knows it all and can attain any height on his own. Pride blinds a man to see opportunities that could be life-changing and productive, thereby making him fruitful. To be fruitful, you have to learn from God first, and then your superiors or mentors in that field or area. But pride will not allow you, thereby denying you the chance of being fruitful. No one will want to work with a proud, whether as a boss or as an employer, which limits the chances of an increase, thereby affecting fruitfulness. To be humble, first of all, you have to see your sufficiency not in yourself, but in God, who is your source and sustainer. When you come to Him, you have to empty yourself of self and let Him fill you up with Himself. There's no way you carry God inside you and will not be fruitful. When God lives in you, He inspires you with ideas, initiatives, and grants you influence that makes everything you do productive and fruitful. When God gives you ideas and initiatives, it's not for you alone or temporal, it's for generations to come. A proud man cannot work with a team of other experts to brainstorm and offer solutions to problems and issues that might be a giant strike and, like a stream, will continuously spring wealth. King Nebuchadnezzar conquered all the nations of the world, including Israel, and through him, Babylon became the world power at that time. It can be said that Nebuchadnezzar was fruitful, but pride was found in him, and the hand of God reduced him to an animal, a beast in the forest, and for 7 years, until he became broken and came to the realization that all belongs to God and he alone should be praised. Remain broken before God, remain humble at all times, and He will make you fruitful in all your ways.